It has to be said at this point, as the New York Rangers have been playing with a much better structure so far this season. It's no surprise that things are about to change in a big way. And point production from a few places in particular has been lackluster. It's leaving fans very confused as to what Chris Drury is going to do and some of the development of the younger players on this team.
Alexei Lafreniere, Macklin, Celebrini, Connor Bedard, all these guys you're talking about, former number one overall picks, Matthew Schaefer right across town in Long Island. So,
Mm-hmm.
Alexei Lafreniere, we had one of our own. We had our own number one overall pick that was supposed to be a can't miss type of guy, and
Yeah.
simply hasn't worked out that way. But he has played well as of late. 4 points in his last 5 games. Will Cooley, point per game player in his last 5 games. You've seen Noah Laba so far this year. He looks legit. He's not going to score, at least not yet. He's not going to score you 30, 40 goals, but I love the way he plays a north to south style of game. He plays a straight line, honest brand of hockey. So Noah Laba looks legit, like a 200-foot player. Even Gabe Perreault. Gabe Perreault showed some signs of
Mm-hmm.
growth compared to last year. But my question is for you. We understand that the best players on this team are veterans, but I just mentioned those young guys. None of them look like a Celebrini or a Bedard, unfortunately. But which player on this team, young player in particular, do you believe has the most upside and why?
I would say, based on what you said and just what I've seen, I would say Gabe Perreault. I'm on his bandwagon, and I want to go back to what you said too about there's no comparable on the club with a Macklin Celebrini or a Leo Carlson in Anaheim or a Connor Bedard in Chicago. There's no comparable, and you're not going to have that. If every team had somebody like that, this league would even be in a better spot than it is right now because it's in a pretty darn good spot. But if that's the case, well, then take two or three young, talented players like the Perot you mentioned, and you can fill those skates that Bedard would fill with just one of those guys. I'm not saying the Rangers would love to have Connor. Of course, everybody would. And you're doing something right when you can just say Connor now, and people are going to question, hey, are you talking about McDavid or are you talking about Bedard? So that's where Connor is, at least in my book right now. You talk about the one name only. But I'm a fan of his. I am a fan of his, and I don't mind the youth on this club. If I can go back to what you said about Alexis Lafreniere, I'm a huge believer and a fan of any number one pick, and I pull for them in any sport. There's a lot of pressure being a number one pick. And when all you've known is winning, which all he did and all these number one picks have in any league they played in before the NHL, you're used to winning. You're going to go through hardships. I said at the beginning or about halfway through last season, I said, I think at the beginning of last season actually too, and I don't know if anyone said this before, but I said that he was on the wrong team. I said that he's not in the right situation in New York for him to thrive. Maybe in the minority with that, I don't know. It's not that I'm not pulling for him, and I don't think that he can be, and he's got so much talent to do so. I still though believe that there's something that does not fit with him in New York. It doesn't have to be with the coach, it doesn't have to be with the players. It just has to be with the team and the city, I think. That's with all due respect to everybody in New York. I love New York. I just want to get that out there to everyone right now. Been there a lot. But it just thinks to me that it just seems to be the wrong situation for him. Now, of course, you're not going to, I don't know anything about that. I'm sure he loves it and everything's fine. He wants to perform better. But if he can somehow get consistently good, we've seen so many parts to his game at times where he can be a dominant player on the ice. It's the whole consistent 82 game thing, which is a bit of a tough one. But anyway, I know it's a bit long winded, but back to your point, I'm a huge fan of Gabe Perreault. I like him. So out of them all, I think in that system and the ones I've seen, I certainly am pulling for him.
Well, yeah, great stuff. I mean, you're not the only one, Ryan, that I've heard say that about
Okay.
Lafreniere,
Okay.
not being able to thrive here, maybe being able to thrive somewhere else. But something that we spoke about earlier in the episode was, confidence. Having that confidence, it's
Yep.
important in life, it's important in sports. And
Yep.
something that I've noticed about Lafy is when he plays with that confidence, it oozes out of him. He looks like the player
Yeah.
that he looked like in the Eastern Conference Final versus Florida. When he's playing with that type of confidence, that's how good he can look. But for whatever reason, it comes and goes with him. Maybe that pressure of being a number one overall pick like you said, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. There's a lot of pressure that comes with playing in New York. So a lot of those factors can definitely be true.
Heading into next year, if Panarin is not there, you're going to have to rely on some of the younger guys as well for that point production, right? You definitely will have to do that. And in saying that, I kind of get fired up about, talking about it sometimes, because this team is notorious and this organization for not being able to develop players. So my question to you very simply is, do you think there is a player development problem with this team? And to circle back to something you were talking about with Lafreniere, for example, when you look at other first overall picks, when you look at other first overall picks, like a Bedard, for example, and a Macklin Celebrini, they're drafted, they're brought in, and with where those teams are at, they're the first line center already, right? With Lafreniere, that wasn't the case. He was brought in. It was a weird year. He's brought in. Now you're on the third line, right? You're not that guy. So, it kind of stunts your development a little bit. You're not put on the power play, stuff like that. So do you feel like that had something to do with it? Or, everything that, fans are talking about, this team is notorious for not being able to develop players?
There's a lot of teams in the league that I think have that moniker attached to their name, which is unfortunate. If you have a great system and if you can develop from within and excel in the system, and then when you get to the NHL and you can see the results of that, that's the best for any of the 32 organizations. I think he hit the nail on the head with Alexis Lafreniere and some of these other players who come into the league, as I said, and all they've known is to win. And then, yes, it's a big jump. It is, from whatever league you're in before to the NHL. But I'll say this, if you have the talent like a Lafreniere or a Bedard or a Celebrini, I don't think the jump should be as high and should be as wide of a jump in order to get acclimated properly and quickly in the league. I look at Connor Bedard, and I remember last year, there was an interview that he did, and he was on the ice after a game. And Chicago, I had this discussion so often last year on my show. I took Chicago and San Jose on most weekends and most weeks. And I said, okay, look at the body language after each loss. And they lost quite a bit. I said, the difference with San Jose's body language is, okay, yeah, it stinks to lose. We don't like it, but it's okay. We'll go to sleep, practice the next day, and then get back on the ice and try to get a W. In Chicago, the body language was terrible. It's like they were losing 10-0 every night. And Bedard was asked, I think, and I'm paraphrasing the question, when he wasn't added to the Four Nations. He looked ticked, and it was good for him. It was good that he was upset because he wanted to go. This season, his body language is completely different. And because of that, he is playing much better hockey. So he's put whatever nonsense he was dealing with off the ice and the mental, I guess, lack of fortitude that he had, bringing him down, he got rid of that. So with Lafreniere, if you come into a system like you did with the Rangers and you're not getting top-line minutes, you're not getting top-line power play opportunities, and if you don't perform well, you're seeing yourself drop down a bit in some of the lines, then yeah, that's going to affect your confidence, because all you've known is winning. All you've known is to be the number one on any team that you've been on. So I think a lot of it has to do with that, with him. And just give the guy time, give him chances, keep putting him out, giving him opportunities. And when you're that skilled and when you have that high skill set, it is only a matter of time with practice that you'll start to find your game. And we've seen it with Bedard, and I'd love to see it continue with Connor. Certainly, I'd love to see it start and get consistent with Lafreniere in New York.
Yeah, I'd love to see it with Laffy, because that means the Rangers are be doing well. Whenever when Laffy does well, the Rangers do well. I spoke about how the Rangers go as Panarin goes, but if you look at the stats as well, as when Laffy does well, the Rangers do well also. But you spoke about body language, and it just triggered something in me about JT Miller once again, because like Darius, I wanted JT Miller to be captain of this team. It was close between JT Miller and Trocheck, but I really wanted JT to be the captain of this team. And his body language last night, his body language as of late has me ticked off, has a lot of fans ticked off. And